Hello everyone and welcome to the 40th Annual House and Garden Tour. I'm Bian Martinez and this is Achille Brown.
And this year's tour is dubbed Pioneer to Present Day. And we'll get a chance to look at homes on Westmoreland, Elm, Pine, Montgomery, and Hickory Avenues. So join us if you will. We have our tickets and we're going to take a look at some of the best homes that Takoma Park has to offer.
Okay, let's go.
Hey everyone, and we are here with Diana Cohn. She is the president of Historic Takoma, and she was kind enough to speak to us about today's tour. Hi Diana, how are you?
Welcome to the 40th Annual House and Garden Tour.
I was just going to congratulate you on that. 40 years it's
Yes.
a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that it was 1973 when they had the first House and Garden Tour. And they conceived of it because at that time the community was threatened by all kinds of developers that wanted to come in and tear down the 100-year-old houses, and a lot of the people living in them were alarmed. And one of the strategies was to invite people in to see the houses so that you can understand what is being threatened.
Hey everyone, and we are speaking with another homeowner on the tour, Jen Sermonetta, and she was gracious enough to also talk with us. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting.
So, how long have you been the homeowner of this house?
We moved here in 2005, in the summer of 2005. And I remember, actually, my husband was away in India, and we hoisted our king mattress up through the outside. I have a distinct memory of that move-in process. And Charlotte was 2. And it wasn't here yet.
What attracted you to the house in the beginning, in the first place?
It was exactly what we needed because it has the bedrooms on one side and then it has a workspace on the other. So it has enough room to be doing various activities.
And as far as renovations go, what renovations have you actually done?
Well, we added some more windows where there had been non-functional solar panels. So now we have passive solar because that's sunlight. We redid a bathroom. We added also a window there. And we just redid our kitchen. So the kitchen is very friendly and comfortable now.
Very friendly. Yeah, I really enjoyed the kitchen. It was really nice. Yeah. Good enough. Good enough. Thank you all for talking to us.
Thanks for stopping in.
One woman, Ellen Marsh, decided that she would ask her neighbors whether they'd be willing to open their houses and show people what was worth saving. And that was the first House and Garden Tour, and here we are 40 years later.
So did it start with the very first one, or were there a few people?
There were 28 houses on the first tour, and they were in 4 different neighborhoods in Takoma Park, and many people said, wow, I've never been in this neighborhood. I never knew these houses were here. So it introduced even the people who lived in Takoma Park to the other neighborhoods.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of your house?
As far as I know, the house was built about 100 years ago. There's a main part, and then there were several renovations, I think prior to our moving in here about 20 years ago. And our last renovation was 2 years ago.
You have a beautiful house and also you have a great garden. How have you worked this garden up? I mean, what's the process?
Oh gosh, a few years ago I did the Master Gardener training program, and I became very interested in gardens. I do vegetable gardening at the Takoma Park Community Garden. And our tree came down very sadly last year, so it forced me to rethink the space, and what you see is the sort of the emerging result. It's not there yet, but I started working on it this spring. When we lost our tree, some of the hardscape also was destroyed. So we had to rebuild all that. And it gave me an opportunity to start over.
Let me ask you something, going back to the house. You have done this is almost 100-year-old, you said.
One part of the house is 100
It's 100-year-old. How was the process for the renovation? Because I'm sure it's very delicate also to do this type of renovation on this type of houses.
We worked with Rick Leonard at Heritage, and he's great. And Rick Vitullo. They both gave us good ideas. My husband also, who chose all the colors that you see on the house that everybody seems to love so much, had a big role in redesigning the house. I do the garden, but he had a lot to do with the house. I gave a lot of input into the kitchen because we cook a lot in our family, and so the kitchen's designed so that one side is for the cook, and people don't need to come to where the cook is cooking. They can get all their stuff from the other side of the kitchen.
Pull your face mask down. All right. What about the chest guard? It looks loose. Is it loose? All right. What about the shin guards? All right. Okay. Here comes the heat. Bring it in. Bring it in. Good hustle.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Diana, is the tour only restricted to Ward 3?
No. We do a different neighborhood each year. Last year we did North Takoma. Next year we'll probably do Ward 1 somewhere else. We tend to stay where the older houses are just because it's closer to the metro. It allows for people to come from other parts of the metro area besides just Takoma Park. Sometimes a house will be repeated, sometimes not, and there's a huge diversity of houses that we can pick from. One of the advantages in Takoma Park is you have Victorians that are more than 100 years old, and you have bungalows that are from the 1920s, and you have brick colonials from the 1940s, and then you have infill housing from 1980s where they did all kinds of innovative things because they were working from a different set of options in terms of building houses. And there are some examples of each of those on this tour, and usually on every year's tour, there's a range of houses.
And I am here with John Salmon and Ann Scher, and they are the homeowners, and they've been so gracious to let everyone come in and also so gracious enough to speak with us a little bit. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
So first question is, can you start off by telling us a little bit about the history of the home?
This is one of the early houses in Takoma Park, so built around the turn of the century. It's one of the smaller little houses here. It was built in conjunction with a larger farmhouse that was down the road. And this house was owned by multiple people over the years. We purchased it about 12 years ago. It had been rented prior to that and had kind of come under some disrepair. So it's been ours for some time, as I said. We did some renovations of it. John will tell you about what we've done to make it our house.
So renovations, what have you all done so far?
Well, the house was a dump, frankly, when we purchased it, and we went through a 2-year process of designing it, getting approval from Historic Takoma and Montgomery County Historic Preservation Commission. And in that process, we figured out how to expand the house. At the same time, it had about 800 square feet, and now it's about 2,400 square feet. And the idea was to create a house that we could live in for the rest of our lives. So it has an elevator, and it has a number of features in it so that we can stay here even if we get very old and frail.
Is that how you all got connected with Historic Takoma when you spoke with them?
Well, we've known about historic Tacoma for many years, and actually, as we were doing the renovation, we thought, hey, this is probably going to be something that historic Tacoma is going to be interested in someday to be able to demonstrate, because we have tried to be very true to the craftsman detailing. There's a lot of green and green details in here, and we copied the original motif of 6/1 windows, 6 panes over 1 pane throughout much of the detailing in the house. And so the thing is intended to be historic. It's green. It is a smart house, but most importantly, it's universally designed so we can age in place. We can live here for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful house, and thank you all again. Are there any particular things that anyone can expect this year, or is it just sort of that variety?
It's mostly that variety. Several of the houses are specifically pointing out, we specifically point out with several of the houses that they are what we call pioneer houses, hence the name Pioneer to Present Day, because the pioneer houses were designated as houses built in the first 10 years of Takoma Park. So that's 1883 to 1893, and many of them were Victorians, but not all of them. Some are smaller.
We're here in front of the proud owners of this magnificent house and garden. Can you tell us a little bit about your house? Can you tell us the history of your house?
Well, the house is we believe is a Sears kit house. It was built in the mid-1920s, and it's gone through a number of owners. Obviously, we've been in this house since 1989.
Well, one of the most important things here for you guys is the garden, right?
Yes.
Can you talk to us about your garden?
Mm-hmm. Well, when we first came here, there was a traditional lawn. And so I thought, why don't we dig up all the grass and create a garden, a lawnless garden, yard. And I'm a tapestry weaver. And I wanted to create a living tapestry garden. So I designed the whole garden like I would a weaving, different patterns, different textures. And so then I went to a garden designer, Holt, what's Holt say?
Honeyman.
Yeah, Holt Honeyman. And I said, I gave him an idea, and then he created the garden design with this walkway, and he suggested some plants. So we really collaborated and worked together. And so then it's taken about 5 years for it to start to really grow. And the garden has now been growing and changing for about 20 years.
Well, it takes a long process, the way you're explaining, right?
Yeah.
But you told me something very important, that every year, every season is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's just part of the plantings and this sort of thing. Like, for example, in June and July, these plants, these are black-eyed Susans. They'll come out. They're these yellow flowers. They're native. They're native to Maryland. And then the lavender comes out. All the just different seasons. Then in the fall or late summer, the 4 o'clocks will come out. And then these are the iris. We expect them to bloom soon. They'll be purple. So and then the sunflowers will come out, and usually midsummer they'll get about this high, and they'll be all varying colors.
Let me ask you something. Like, people say, like, parents normally say, like, no, we don't have a favorite son, but they do. No, I know you may have. What's your favorite plants here?
My favorite plants are these 3 trees here.
Okay.
And
Crepe myrtle.
Yeah, crepe myrtle, and they're beautiful and pink. And about a month from now, they bloom, and they anchor the garden, and they're very beautiful to look at.
And the nice thing is when the crepe myrtle come out, those ferns, which usually do better in the shade, are shaded. So the ferns, once the crepe myrtle come out in full, really start to thrive.
But I must say that I love the whole garden. That's the thing. I might have a favorite, but I think it's the feel of all the different plants working together. You know, that is the thing that's special for me. And also that people come in. I mean, I'm on the corner, and it seems to be a place that people love to look at. They'll walk especially here. So I consider the people walking the garden as one thing. It's really interacting with the community, and that's what I love. It's not just my project. It's something where I have a connection with the community. And
well, thank
so it's
you.
special.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Movement. Along with weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
How do you select the homes, to be showcased?
We are entirely at the, let's see, how do I answer this? We look at a neighborhood because there's two things that we think about when we plan a tour. One is we want a small, compact neighborhood, so the whole tour is walkable. It's not stretched all over town and you have to get in your car to go from one house to the next. This one is on basically 6 streets, 6 blocks of streets, and you can take your time and go through whichever houses you want. So compact neighborhood is one. The other is we're asking homeowners to open their homes. So we are entirely dependent on homeowners being willing to do that. So we go and we ask the houses that seem like they would be interesting, and sometimes the homeowners say yes, sometimes they say no, and sometimes they say, oh, I'm not going to be here this year. Can you come back next year? And sometimes we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about your home, a little bit of history about your home?
Well, the home is part of one of the original sets that were built in the area. So it's estimated it was built around 1922.
I think so, 22 or 23.
And generally most of these are believed to have been what we refer to as Sears kit homes, right?
I think so. I mean, they're probably kit homes. I'm not sure if they're from Sears or another manufacturer, but the same style.
Have you done any major renovation to this house?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see back behind us, but the front of the house is more or less unchanged. But we put a whole bedroom, bathroom, and screen porch and deck on the back. So we just made the house a little longer.
Was there something special they had to do when you were doing this renovation? I mean, to keep up with the rest of the community here?
Yes, I don't know if you know, but this whole area is in the historic district, so it's governed by the Historic Preservation Commission, and any kind of plans have to be passed through them, and they often make modifications. So we have to build to the same style.
Okay.
So if you look at the siding, while it is not asbestos, as the original front part is, you had to go with a cement-based tile as the original was set up, and then they had to match the painting. Paint it to match the original front colors.
So it's a little tricky, right?
Right.
On this type of renovation.
Right.
How were you selected, and how do you make yourself participate in this event? What made you participate?
We love the house and garden tours. They're so cool. And I think we're actually on the tour as a before, because although we added onto the back, the front of the house is really very similar to the original. And so some of the houses have been more modified, so they're like the afters fixed up.
Now, I've been inside your home and I've been out here. Both places are beautiful. Which place do you like most?
Oh, we spend all our time in the screen porch because we like the garden. And, so.
Any thoughts on the 40th annual Home and Garden?
No, I hope they go on forever. I really like them. They're lots of fun. You get all these ideas about different people's gardens and how to fix up houses. And it's a good fundraiser too. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're entirely welcome. Have a nice day.
All right, thanks.
When it comes to the tour portion, is the tour self-guided? Is there a tour? It is self-guided.
The tour is self-guided. You get a every visitor gets a brochure which has a description of each house and a map, and they can read the description and go to the house, or decide to skip the house. They can do the tour backwards. Some people go at the end and go to the beginning because it's less crowded. So it's entirely at your discretion. You can take however long you want to do it.
Yeah. And we are here with Allison Kojak, one of the owners on the House and Garden Tour. Allison, thank you for talking with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, first off, what do you know about the history of the house?
Well, we just moved into the house recently, so we're learning the history as we go. It was built around 1908-9, and there had been a previous house on the property that burned down in 1903. Somebody brought us a picture of it. It looks terrible. And then it was a single-family home for a long time, and at some point, I'm not sure when, it was divided up into 6 different apartments and used as an apartment building. Sometime in the 1990s, the previous owners reunited the 2 main floors of the house and turned it into a single-family home, and there are still 2 apartments up on the top floor.
Okay.
And so I don't have a lot of info about what happened in between 1909 and 1995, but that's the story I know.
Okay, good enough, good enough. So what was it that attracted you to the house in the first place?
You know, really it was the land. It's sort of an extraordinarily big piece of property to be so close to downtown Takoma Park. We're easy walk to the metro, but we have a lot of space, and we lived in Takoma before on a tiny, tiny little yard, a very nice house, but the yard was very small. And so when we saw this and thought about how we could stretch out, it was sort of irresistible.
A definite upgrade.
Yeah. Definitely.
So do you think you'll get a chance to take the tour yourself?
I would like to. There are so many people in and out of the house. I'm enjoying talking to them all. But I'm going to try to slip away and at least see a few of the other houses on the tour this afternoon.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us.
Thanks so much, Kelly. All right. Take care.
Lead paint poisoning affects over 1 million children today. Just 3 granules of lead dust can harm your child. If your home was built before 1978, log on to leadfreekids.org.
Diana, what makes a memorable home?
A home that shows the personality of the people who live there. Sometimes it is an old home that has been completely renovated from the inside. It still retains the outside. The inside will be totally modern. And other times it is an old Victorian that has been restored to what it would have looked like 100 years ago. And sometimes it's a tiny little bungalow that people have made very livable and comfortable. It really just reflects the personality of who lives there.
Can you share with us a little bit about the history of this beautiful, magnificent house?
We bought this house in 1973. We believe it was built in 1923. We always thought it was a kit house, and an expert with Historic Takoma recently looked through it and says that she thinks that this is a Montgomery Ward kit house. And when we did the remodeling, in fact, we found some pieces that were stenciled as to, like floor beam or roof rafter or things like that, that shows that that's typically what was done for the parts of kit houses.
I know you've done major renovation, right? You showed us some of the pictures from 1979.
Right.
But what have been the most important renovation that you have done in this house?
We added a second level. This is originally a 2-bedroom bungalow, and we added a second floor. We raised 5 children in this house. And when we added the second level, we expanded the kitchen. The kitchen had a a bedroom added by a previous owner, and that was not very well done. But we reused the foundation and floor and greatly expanded the kitchen and put bedrooms upstairs. And the kitchen has become the heart of the house. It's an eat-in kitchen large enough we can have 4 or 5 people cooking at one time. So it's become the center of the home.
Right. We all like to cook, so.
So what have been the major challenges that you had during this renovation?
Oh, patience. Yeah.
When we thought of doing the renovation, we had just so much money. And someone recommended to me a very good craftsman. I went and looked at his work, and he was a very good craftsman. He had been working for a contractor and wanted to go off on his own, started his own business. And ours was to be the first job that he was to do on his own. He gave us an estimate that allowed us to do a lot with the money that we had. And I asked him, how can you be so far below everyone else's estimate? Well, his brother-in-law in West Virginia had a lumber truck, and he was going to import West Virginia lumber. And that way his expense would be lower. It turns out his brother-in-law's truck broke down. He had to buy the lumber locally, and he was not able to do the house for the estimate he gave us, and he abandoned us after the house had been framed.
But he gave us a good start. We would have probably never gotten it going if it hadn't been like that. So, yeah.
I think we got a lot for the money we spent, but because we spent all of our money getting as far as we got, it took us another 20 years to complete the job.
Now, that was the house, a major work there.
Yes.
Now, you have a beautiful garden here as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the garden?
Well, that also, is just a lot of time and patience. People said, oh, so did you plan this all and do it all in one swoop? Oh, no. It's little by little, and as gardeners know, you move things around and you trial and error, so.
Now, you have special artwork here. Can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Right. Norman Green, who used to live just down on Westmoreland, and he's a good friend of mine, and we'd worked together too. He has a sculpture over here by the pond that I really like, and he has some inside too. And the painting in the front bedroom is by Norman as well.
Well,
and Arthur likes this little one over here too, but in the shade, you can't see it. Yeah.
All right.
He's kind of asking for money. We have a penny in his hand.
As you can see, the tour was terrific. I really enjoyed some of these big renovations on these houses.
Yeah, I can really say that all of the homes from the exterior were really beautiful, but to get a chance to go inside and see some of the interiors, it was really fabulous.
And some of the gardens, I mean, they were just well planned, well thought out.
Really, really beautiful. So, in closing, we'd like to thank a few people. First, we'd like to thank Historic Takoma for sponsoring and organizing the event. We'd also like to thank some of the homeowners for allowing everyone into their beautiful homes. Until next time, I'm Akili Brown.
I'm Bia Martinez.
Thanks for watching.